Welcome to Joyful Noise Learning. I'm Ashley, and I love to homeschool my 3 kids. This is a different video today. I normally like to do the kind where it's just me, but I have a good friend who's also a homeschooling mama, and I wanted to invite her on my channel today to share with you some awesome things that I think every homeschool mom needs to hear. So today you're joining me with my first interview, so this is going to be pretty exciting. So my friend Andrea is actually a good friend of mine. We met back in 6th grade in middle school math and history class, I think. Our teacher taught both math and history at the time. But we were not fast friends. She was a little leery of me at first, but eventually we became really good friends and have just kept in touch over the years and over moving to different states. So yay. But the great thing is that her kids are similar ages as mine. We have similar homeschooling styles. We both homeschool, and that has been really fun to do that with her over the years. So I wanted to do this video because Andrea had a conversation with a friend at Homeschool Co-op with a new homeschooling mom. And she shared this conversation with me, and I was like, oh my goodness, other moms need to hear this. So one of the questions that this mom asked Andrea was, how do you teach kids how to think? And I was like, oh, that's good. I got goosebumps thinking about it again. She's like, please welcome my friend, Andrea Kessler. So say hello, Andrea.
Hello.
So Andrea, can you tell us about yourself? Tell us about your kids and your homeschooling, and just let us know who you are.
Sure. I'm Andrea. I've been homeschooling my 3 kids. We have a 7th grader this year, a 4th grader, and a 1st grader. And I've been homeschooling for about 5 years. So I don't consider myself an expert on any subject. So I just know that these conversations come along. And when I was a brand new homeschool mom, I had a lot of questions. So I enjoy being able to help new homeschool moms out now as well. So I appreciate your channel and what you do. So
thank you. Great. Well, I love being able to collab with you or bounce ideas off each other. That's what we definitely do over our phone chats and stuff. So that's been really fun. Andrea, what are some of your favorite curriculums?
Right now, I like The Good and the Beautiful for homeschool. I use that a lot for the language arts section, and I've ordered the history for this year, and I'm waiting for it to come in. There's a lot of new homeschoolers, so there's some backorder issues, but I'm very excited to have those come in. And I would say some of my favorite books that I use are not even curriculum. I use Usborne books for almost everything, and those are probably my favorite books to use.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. So, my last question for you before we get to this is, why did you choose to homeschool?
We chose to homeschool kind of not as traditional as most people do. I feel like when I first started thinking about it, it was because I had a lot of other friends that were doing it, and they were telling me how wonderful it was for them and how great it had been for their kids and the experiences that they had. I never thought that I would homeschool at all. My daughter actually, once her friends started homeschooling after being pulled out of the public school, she was actually asking me to homeschool her because she thought they were having so much fun. I never thought that I could do it, but once I started doing the research, I realized, okay, I think it's okay. It's going to be okay. And so I started talking with other homeschool moms and went to a group where I had some mentor moms that really helped me make the decision. And I was actually on the fence, to be honest, for a while. And my husband wasn't quite for it, but until I think my daughter had a back to school night one night at her school. And they were showing some of the schoolwork that they had worked on. And a lot of it, I would say 90% of it, was just about certain things that we didn't necessarily agree with needs to be the main focus of an educational system. So that, I think, helped sway my husband's opinion on what we thought the children needed to be learning versus what they're actually being taught in school, in order, like, as far as our core beliefs and what we thought was important.
So that was what helped you guys decide to homeschool, and then you jumped in. How old was she again?
She was in 2nd grade. So we started, back when she started 2nd grade. Her teacher had alerted the school principal that we were thinking about homeschooling, and I got a phone call from him one day, and he said, there's a lot of kids on the wait list. I need to know your decision right now. And I was like, I need some more time. I haven't really made that decision. But I said, I have signed her up for this other program. And he said, oh, well, if she signed up for this other program, she's no longer enrolled at our school. So thank you for making
Well, there
that
you
decision.
go.
And he hung up, and I was like, okay, we are homeschooling officially. Like, it was kind of on accident, but I think God designs everything to happen for a reason. And
Yeah.
little things fell into place after that where I felt like it confirmed my decision. So.
Oh, that's so great. That's
Yeah.
so cool. Good story. All right. So, Andrea, how do you teach your kids how to think? That's the question.
It's funny because I never thought of doing it this way. I didn't think I was teaching them how to think, but I did have a conversation with a homeschool mom, brand new. Well, she's actually not homeschooling it. She has a child in the public school system, but they're having a little bit of issues. So she's thinking of pulling her child out, but she said her biggest fear for teaching him is teaching him how to think. And so I offered her some ideas. And when I had this conversation with you, you had kind of thought, well, those are great. We need to share these with everybody. And so I had written down all of my ideas. And then I thought, wait a minute, how am I to be the one that says how do we teach our kids how to think? So I actually just wanted to let everybody know too that I looked up, I just typed in this question to Google and I came up with psychologytoday.com, and it had listed off almost everything that I had repeated to you. So even as far as the public school comments. So, and I was going, okay, well, this is great. I'm on the right track. So I feel like I can
Andrea.
These ideas without feeling like, don't listen to me, because it's backed up, by psychology.com. So
that's great. Yeah. And you yourself, you're really interested in psychology, and you have taken classes in psychology, and you have read books on it. So you actually are, I feel, a bit more qualified than maybe some of us would. So I think you're not a psychologist, I guess, but you do have background in that.
Yes, but I just wanted to start out because I did encourage this mom that curiosity is really the base of human thought. I think it's really the core, because kids are naturally curious, and our goals as a parent is to kind of encourage this curiosity in our kids. And I kind of told her, you don't teach your kids how to think. Their brains are constantly spinning already. They're coming up with ideas. They ask a million questions starting at the age, as soon as they can talk. If they're learning words,
you don't have to teach your kids how to ask questions.
Yes, no, you don't
to teach them.
Yeah. So, and then the other thing that I had mentioned to her was schools don't necessarily teach your children to think either. They teach your students how to be a good student, and how to get the right answer, and how to repeat back what they need to say to pass the test, and what they want to hear. And everything is based on the school's kind of worldview. Usually traditional public schools, if they're not at a Christian or private school, it's going to be based on the worldview, and the curriculum writers are not going to be Christian based. And so all of these things that they are told to think are not based on our foundation in Christ. So as Christians and homeschool moms, it's really our job to give our kids the foundation of the Christian worldview and that kind of thought, because what is taught in the public school is very contradictory to the Bible. So I would say that is definitely really important to make that connection when you're teaching your children to think, because teaching your children to think is really just about giving them the framework of your belief system, I would say. So every idea can be measured, it needs to be measured against your core belief system. And if you aren't getting that strong Christian belief system, then all of your thoughts won't be centered in Christ. It'll be the worldview. And then, so anything that you're comparing, any thoughts that they may have, any questions, the critical thinking, that's where we have the disconnect there at that point. So for example, my kids will hear things in movies and TVs, possibly about the age of the earth or things like that. And they'll come back and they'll tell me, hey, Mom, this movie just said the earth is millions of years old and they're wrong, and I'm going,
Yeah.
okay, well, here we go. They're making connections and they're having these thoughts for themselves, not just regurgitating what I've told them, but they can think about and hear things and kind of compare based on our Christian worldview.
So, Andrea, what are some examples or ways that we can encourage our children to think, or maybe even tap into that critical thinking?
Yeah, that's a great question. And there are some ways that we can definitely encourage that in our kids. And I think that you hit on a really good one in your last YouTube video that you did when you were doing the science for free curriculum video,
Yeah.
when you were talking about as you're reading along in your history or science curriculums or just a book that you've chosen, to ask your kids some really good questions. And what do you think about this? And why do you think this person behaved this way? You know what I mean? Those kind of questions that kind of get them thinking beyond just what's presented in front of them on the page. That's one way.
Yeah.
And then another way to do it would be to stop reading when they start interrupting and asking questions about the content. That is actually a
That's
very
really
good
good.
sign if they are making these connections, that they are engaged and they are having these thoughts, and those should be encouraged and praised. You should always give your children the praise that they are making extra connections outside of what's being read. So that's
Good. So
another
those
thing.
questions aren't interruptions. They're the
Yeah.
actual learning taking place,
Yeah,
especially
so
if
it's
we have children who are verbal processors. They want to talk and they want to talk about it. Some kids may be able to be quiet and to think it through, but if they're anything like me, they got to talk about it. And I have at least one child who's that way for sure. So we have to
yeah,
stop
and I feel
all the
like
time.
even the internal processors kind of sit back and you can tell if they start looking off around that they're actually thinking about, and you might stop and even pause and say, what are you thinking about? What do
Oh,
you think
that's
about
good.
this?
So
And
look for
they try to
nonverbal
let it into you.
cues for the internal processors.
Yes,
I need
yes.
to work on
So
that.
yeah. And then I would say probably like another way you could do it just in everyday life would just be offering your children different perspectives and ideas about why you think that other people are acting the way they do. For example, not this has nothing to do with education, but if
Yeah.
we're driving down the road and someone speeds by me going really fast, instead of saying, man, he's just driving like a crazy person, you could stop and say, and I've done this with my kids and said, wow, they're in a really big hurry. I hope everything's okay. What if they're on their way to the hospital? I hope everything's okay, versus getting
Oh,
upset. So it just kind of offers different perspectives, and it kind of just helps them think, okay, there's these people, other people have lives and things going on different than what, maybe actually in front of me. So instead of just reacting to what's happening, kind of thinking of the why things might be happening. So
ooh,
that's,
that's good. And speaking that out loud for the kids to model for the kids basically is like what you're saying.
yeah, exactly. And my daughter's actually modeled that for me because
Oh,
I've done
really?
it so much for her. And there's been times where I'm just driving going, this guy, I can't believe he just cut me off. And my daughter would say, well, mommy's probably going to the hospital or something. And I'm going,
Oh,
you're right. So they can
good
have their
girl.
yeah.
So, Andrea, thank you for those great examples that we can use to help teach our kids to not to think, but or tell them what to think, but teach them how to think and how to ask good questions and everything. But and as you've been sharing this, you've been talking about some of the things you saw happen in public school and versus things in homeschool. And I don't want to make this, for those of you watching, I don't want to make this a homeschool versus public school thing. We know there are good things that can come out of public school, but we know there can be some kind of downfalls from that as well. So what we're trying to say, I think, is for us as homeschool moms, or for those choosing to homeschool or thinking about it, to take those opportunities that are right in front of you for allowing your kids to have opportunities to think, and not necessarily teaching them what to think, but leading them into how to think, right?
Yes. And it doesn't matter if they're going to public school or homeschool. I think I was just using that as the example just to show where the core beliefs would be coming from at that point. So,
Yes, yes.
and
Oh,
even
that's
if your
good.
kids are, even if your kids are in public school and you're a Christian, um, which is the way I grew up, just important to instill those kind of belief systems in your home so that they can be critical thinkers at school and come up with, okay, just because the school is telling me this is the right answer for my worksheet doesn't mean this is what I have to believe. So
Yes. Oh, yes. That's exact. Yeah, that's it. So yeah, there's because we want you as parents to feel empowered to teach your kids what you believe and what your core values are of your family. So there are a lot of us, Andrea and I, myself included, we love the Lord, we love Jesus, we are a Christian biblical worldview home, but we know others, whatever your core values are, need to be important. They need to be up front in front of your kids so that they can compare that to things they do here out in the world. Even homeschool kids, they're going to run into that. Like you said, Andrea, like they're going to run into that in watching videos or hanging out with friends or wherever they're going to be out in the world eventually. So we're not sheltering our kids here, right?
Right.
They're not going to be under our wing in our home forever, are they?
No.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Andrea. I really appreciate you taking the time to share this with us and with my viewers. So where can they follow you? Where can they find you, Andrea?
Good. Yeah, I had a lot of fun today, so thank you. I am on Instagram at Foxtail Meadow School of Discovery. So kind of a long name,
It's
but
a long name.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
But I'll put a link to that in the description below for sure. So you have to check her out.
Thank
She's a
you.
great Instagram. She's one of my favorite Instagram people. Not just my friend, but she does a great job. She's actually a photographer as well. So she takes very nice pictures. So if you're in Colorado, look her up. She'll take family photos.
Thank you.
So thanks so much for watching. Be sure and subscribe if you haven't yet already. And I love to talk about Charlotte Mason style homeschooling. I love to share things for new homeschoolers, how to homeschool on a budget and affordably. Those are my main things. So if you like that, please consider subscribing. And if you are new to homeschooling or considering homeschooling, I have an ebook that I wrote, Ready, Set, Homeschool, the step-by-step guide to getting started homeschooling. I loved it. Andrea was one of my inspirations for this as well. So we talk about, or not we, it's my book, I guess. In the book, I share step-by-step how to just get started. Like sometimes you're like, want somebody to tell me what to do. How do I get started homeschooling? So in this book, I hold your hand and I walk you through step-by-step on how to pick curriculum, set some routines, find out what your homeschooling why is, just like what Andrea shared at the beginning of the video. So please check that out. Put the link in the description for all that below. So thank you, and I will see you next time.